May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be always acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Would you please be seated? Some pretty beautiful teaching from the Gospels this morning. In clear, right? Quite clear teaching. We'll get there shortly. I just want to touch on Micah first, just for a little bit, because Micah sits with that piece of scripture absolutely beautifully. So we have a little bit of a background for Micah to completely understand where he's coming from. He's a really interesting prophet, and one of the earliest prophets that we have in Scripture, especially part of the canon, the very, very early stages of the development. So he's from a small town in the southwest of Jerusalem. So think of Micah as a small town country guy. It's kind of what Micah is. Seems to be, from what we have in Scripture about Micah, very down to earth, kind of salt of the earth sort of prophet. Not wealthy in any kind of way, but of course he had an extremely powerful voice that echoes throughout the ages to us now today. So he was operating at about around the end of the 8th century BC, pretty early on there. And what we hear from Micah throughout this little book is an absolutely scathing critique. Scathing critique of the leaders in Jerusalem and the wealth in that city. Not just the wealth, but the corruption which has come with that wealth and the way that it's being wielded throughout Jerusalem. So we see this really harsh critique, and we heard a little bit about it today, didn't we? At the beginning of Micah, our reading from Micah, which is near the end of his book. It kind of goes between this great critique of Jerusalem and warning, where this will lead you to. But Micah isn't really kind of a doomsday prophet. He speaks of the great redemption and the joy and positive nature for God's people. Right? There will be a time when beauty and justice reigns. So the piece that we get from Micah today is almost like he's in a law court. There's 3 different voices there. There's Micah, there's the general people, and there's the voice of God. Right? And they kind of bounce between each other. And that's common in Micah. So we get this sort of warning at the start that seems quite harsh of our little reading today. And then at the end of that reading from Micah, what did we hear? What were his instructions? What did he say? What does God demand of us? But doing justice, loving kindness, walking humbly with God. That's what he ends with. If you think of that as the crux of that passage that we read from Micah this morning, you can begin to see how it fits so beautifully with the Beatitudes that we just heard from Jesus when he was giving his great Sermon on the Mount. And in Luke, it's a sermon on the plain, and it's a bit more simple. But here we get this great, elaborate instruction from Jesus. But it's quite interesting what Jesus says there. He gives 7 different blessings. Do you remember what they are? Who can rattle them off? No? Good. I can't either. So it's not written in front of me. So we've got blessed are the poor in spirit. Right? So we're going to come back to that very quickly because I want to explain what's going on there. In Luke, it's just the poor. Right? Blessed are the poor. In Matthew, blessed are the poor in spirit. So we need to qualify that a bit. What's going on there? Why is it? Blessed are those who mourn. Right? There's 2. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the pure in heart. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are you when you are persecuted, when people revile and persecute you. It doesn't sound like blessed people, does it? None of those things sound like a blessing. But Jesus, again, reminds us that, this is something completely different I've come to proclaim here. We tend to see the world upside down, right? Those who are laughing, those who have everything, those who believe that they're correct and right all the time, and it's their job to correct others. No, that's not a blessing. In fact, it's the other way. Blessed are the meek, blessed are the poor. Right? Blessed are those who are weeping. Blessed are the humble. Remember Micah, those who walk humbly with their Lord, with their God. But why poor in spirit? Well, the word used in Greek for poor in spirit is quite literally the beggar on the street. The one who has nothing. Not only does this person have nothing, they know they have nothing and they feel it. This isn't talking about some lack of spirit. It's not talking about a lack of faith. It's not talking about a lack of spiritual standing. It's talking about blessed are the poor who know that in their spirit. They know the people. They know the requirement. But they're blessed in this kingdom. This is something very, very different. So I think this kind of talk of the Beatitudes gives us an incredible glimpse at priorities as Christian people. It's quite a clear teaching. It can be taken many different ways, though. Many clear things can be. You walk up to somebody and you'll think, well, this is quite simple, and they'll think of it completely different to the way you do. Has that ever happened to you before? You've been surprised like that? Yeah. But it does give us a glimpse of priorities. If we think of the poor in spirit, then we realise, hang on, we can't see self-reliance as a blessing. Those who beautifully have it all together, who are self-reliant, and who look great and present well, right? The ones we usually hold up as pillars of our society, actually they're not the ones who are blessed in this teaching. It's the ones who don't have it all together. And they know it. That are blessed. And maybe the reason for that, or part of the reason for that, is because if we do have it all together, and we are looking wonderful, first of all, we're lying to ourselves, because nobody has it all together. But it also has the ability to affect every other one of those beatitudes, especially walking humbly, humility. So we have a little bit of instruction here, I believe, on priorities as Christian people. So just before I wrap up, I have a little bit of a presentation for you. Just a few pictures. I wanted to start with things not to get fired up about as Christians if we're talking about priorities. When hot cross buns come out in the stores, it doesn't matter. Hot cross buns were not instigated by Jesus or God. He did not bake them in his baking shop, right? That is a very angry hot cross bun there. Right? How many times have you heard people complain about this? You get angry about it. There's a pretty simple way to get past this. That's what it is. Don't buy them. It really is not something to get passionate about. Because if you do, then we deserve everything that's thrown at us as Christian people. Because that's just ridiculous. We just heard the Beatitudes, and now we're getting a wood in a bum. We're joyous people, right? We're people who are inviting people into the kingdom. Showing people God's love, right? We don't care about buns. I mean, they're beautiful. Eat them. I love them. And eat them when was it? Just after 2 weeks after Christmas. Yeah. Go and eat them. Doesn't matter. Next one. People saying happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas. How you have to be to correct someone because they didn't greet you properly? I mean, goodness me. Really? That's an angry Santa. You know why he's angry? Because we get angry when people don't greet us properly. Have you heard this before? Have you heard people complain about, people don't say Merry Christmas enough? Then say it more. Right? Say it more. So when people don't say it, you're saying it more often. Right? These things don't matter. They do not matter. Right? If you can find a way to get into the conversation and talk about Jesus, if they're open to that, please do. That's excellent, right? I'm not saying we shouldn't evangelise. Of course we should. But we certainly shouldn't be getting passionate about things like this. We've just heard the Beatitudes. Remember that. Please remember the Beatitudes before you remember your anger at saying Happy Holidays or whatever it is. Don't get fired up about that. Next one. What people look like. Their appearance. Right? And whenever I'm charging us with these things, I'm charging myself as well. Right? I'm not perfect in any way. No way, right? I'm sure I've done all of these things before. Probably not the puns because I love them, but I'm sure I've done them all before, right? So many times I've heard people politely just comment on how somebody looks, right? And because they look that way, they're probably this, that, or the other, right? Or because they present that way, they probably don't have it all together. Or maybe they're on drugs. That sounds ridiculous, but I've heard that, right? All of these kind of things. It doesn't matter what people look like. It really doesn't. I don't know how much we can stress this. Please do not judge people on the way that they look. Or choose not to talk to them because of the way they look. Or be frightened to talk to them because of the way they look. You know who that is?
No, I don't know.
Post Malone. I don't know. He's an extremely famous musician at the moment. Extremely successful. And by all accounts, a very kind and humble person. The amount of times I've heard people complain about tattoos and all that kind of jazz. Just ignore the tattoo and look for the person. It doesn't matter, really. Next one. Kids being kids in church. Children are children. Right? They will make noise. They will run around. God bless them. Isn't it wonderful they're with us in the church setting? Something else not to get fired up about as a Christian. These are things that we should be grateful for, actually. Maybe I'm being a little bit insular here because I have 4 little children. And one of those children has lots and lots of energy. But I've seen firsthand young families turned away from church because maybe somebody hasn't said anything, but they've got that sort of look of derision. Right? Really, we want them with us. Alright, so that's the things that we should not be getting fired up about as Christians. Here's a few suggestions on things maybe we should be passionate about. Living in a just world. It's in the Beatitudes. It's in that reading from Micah. Living in a just society. When somebody has nothing and then somebody else has billions of dollars, there's a bit of an issue there. Because if we listen to the Beatitudes and we listen to the message of Micah, then we can't just say, well, that's excellent. These billionaires have billions of dollars, they deserve to be there. They look great, look how they present. Excellent, wonderful. And they've got it all together. Well, blessed are the poor. Blessed are the poor in spirit. This is the picture of the blessed one. Not the one that's got it all together. The one that's the beggar on the street. If we truly are listening to what's being said to us. A just world. And people will have different ideas of what that means. But as Christian people, we don't get grumpy at the bun. We shouldn't be getting angry at each other if we have different ideas. We should enter into those discussions. And there'll be times we have to walk away from those discussions. There'll be times we can't work together, but at least we enter them. Right. Next one. Pursue our relationship with God, right? Our relationship with God is something we should be passionate about as Christian people. I mean, it's the core of who we are as a lot. Our relationship with God, I mean, that encompasses everything. It encompasses prayer. It encompasses how we treat each other and how we engage with each other. It encompasses the way we see a just world and how we decide to act within it. It even affects how we feel when tragedies strike us, or when we're finding it hard to deal with something. But also there's that spiritual reality of having that connection with God, of knowing that God is with us, of giving our faithfulness to God, our time and our life. And that affects every part of our being as Christian people. Next one. Authentic belief. Do you really believe this? I don't mean you say it every now and then. I'm not really talking about trying to argue it over someone else and so how much better your understanding is. I mean in your bones, right? Authentic belief. We all go through times of absence. We're all going to do that. It's bound to happen. We're human. Unless you're not. Right? But I'm talking about that knowing, that feeling. Just understanding that God is with you. There are times as a teenager that I could have swore I was something else, right? Not a Christian. You following this other truth, but at the end of the day, at night, guess who I prayed to? Jesus. Just a knowing, just an understanding. Don't be hard on yourself if you don't. Don't beat yourself up if you don't in this class. But pursuing a relationship with God will lead deeper and deeper into that one. And the last one, not the least, kindness. Right? Again in the Beatitudes. Again, Micah. Kindness. Something else that seems so simple. And it can be. It can be so incredibly simple, like breathing, right? It can be as simple as welcoming someone, giving them some encouragement. And then kindness can actually be very difficult. You know? Making sure that we're creating proper boundaries if there's poisonous things going on around us is actually an act of kindness to you and the other person. Being honest and authentic in our discussions with people, that's an act of kindness. But these are the things that we should be passionate about as Christians. So I think on days like today, we can be really thankful for the scriptures that we've heard this morning. For this beautiful community that we have together. How many of us have come to this church and been comforted by someone who we're down? We look forward to coming here and experiencing it. And then that extends out into our society. And if somebody walks through those doors, who's never walked through the church door before, or maybe hasn't for a few years, and they look like Post Malone, and they're holding a hot cross bun, they're eating, and they wish us happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas, then we better remember the Beatitudes and welcome them with open arms. Right? Let them know that they are truly accepted as soon as they walk through those doors, or as soon as we see them on the street, right? Because that's what Christ did for us. Holy, it is a blessing. Absolute grace. In the name of God, the Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer. Amen.